Cleanaway wants to build a $130,000 oily wastewater separation plant on its current grease trap site at Wallsend. The new facility will take around 30 to 60,000 litres of oily waste each day. But residents of Wallsend and nearby Marylands are strongly objecting to the proposal.
The smell is very offensive. It can be explained to like a child's dirty nappy or a decaying dead animal. It is a very obtrusive smell.
Nearby industries also find the odour offensive.
When our customers do come, the smell is very offensive and very embarrassing.
The odour is very offensive to our business. It's cost us a lot of embarrassment with customers to the point that some people refuse to come back.
Cleanaway admits there is a foul smell emitting from the plant, but says it's installing a new carbon-activated system to prevent odours from escaping. The company also guarantees the new oily wastewater facility will not emit any smells. Residents, though, are dubious.
If they can't contain and manage what they've got now, why should a development application be accepted to allow them to add again to what they've already got?
According to Cleanaway, the oily water treatment plant will be on the Wallsend site only for around 18 months while its major industrial waste facility is being built on Kooragang Island. But even that proposal has met stiff opposition and so far remains on the drawing board. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
It's often heard around marinas that owning a boat is like pouring money into a hole in the water. Maintaining a competitive edge can be an addiction for some, while others are keen to ride a swell of technology building under the simple pursuit of sailing. The display offers many items of interest. Global positioning satellite units take centre stage. They can update a vessel's position every 2 seconds to within a 15-metre radius anywhere in the world. Such units were used to great effect by American military aircraft and ground forces during the Gulf War. Attached to a computer plotter, the boat's position can be superimposed on an electronic chart such as this one of Port Stephens. Its claimed auto helms can guide craft more surely than a human hand.
You can actually navigate your way into Newcastle Harbour or around the lake here. If you're sailing a race, you could program your course and it'll take you around it. Is that accurate?
There's a new range of solar panels, 12-volt appliances, Australian-made wet weather gear and a host of ideas for above and below the waterline.
More than 600 jobs have gone from Shortland Electricity in the past 5 years. By September, 61 management positions will be abolished in a bid to further streamline the organisation. But the Electrical Trades Union fears it may not make an improvement.
If you reduce a number of employees, obviously when you apply, say, to have a hot water service connected, it could well be that it takes longer for that to be attended to. If there's a storm, for instance, the call-out time for the line crew, let's say, will probably be longer.
Members are also dissatisfied with redundancy packages handed out to 5 executives, allegedly a golden handshake compared with packages offered to middle management.
Why should there be confidentiality of 5 senior employees when the package was clearly known prior to that redundancy offer, in the 600 or so that left previously, and the package is known in terms of the general ranking of employees, the middle management group?
Well, why do you need those details?
We elect people to the council, they represent us at local council level, then surely there has to be a role for the community knowledge in that. How do you know that things are above board?
Management says the deals were made along normal industrial guidelines and will remain strictly confidential. Meantime, the union will meet tonight at 7:30 to discuss the outcome of talks with Shortland County Council, and Bert Schmidt predicts members will be angry.
If the view tonight is that management hasn't come clean, that in essence they've been telling the employees lies, I'm sure there'll be industrial action.
The ship arrived at the Kooragang No. 3 wharf from New Orleans in the early hours of this morning. The 5 Honduran sailors walked off just after 4 this afternoon, claiming they hadn't been paid for almost 3 months and were being threatened by members of the crew.
He said he will kill me and throw me in the water at sea. At night time when he is on watch, he come through my porthole and bang bang to wake me up, to make my life impossible.
They say they were tricked into signing contracts which entitle them to the equivalent of only $220 Australian a month. Even if they are paid what's allegedly owed them, they won't be able to afford a flight back to Honduras and risk arrest if they refuse to board the ship when it sails for Townsville on Monday.
We want to go back to Honduras to be repatriated to our country and get off our payoff and send us home.
The survey will be concentrated between 5 and 35 kilometres offshore over a fortnight toward the end of July. Exploration company Santos sees a potential in the area to provide natural gas to the main markets of Newcastle and Sydney. Tests will be carried out over an area of 600 square kilometres, a relatively small patch compared to the fields of Bass Strait. At present, natural gas reserves are piped from Central Australia. A 63-metre vessel towing a 3-kilometre cable and compressed air guns suspended 10 metres below the surface will work a grid pattern over the seafloor, firing sonic charges every 2 seconds. A pressure wave penetrates the seabed to a depth of 10,000 metres, seeking cavities in the strata that could hint of gas deposits. These could be drilled and the gas pumped ashore. It's early days yet, but a representative of Santos declined to be interviewed, saying that the issue was still too environmentally sensitive. Already, local fishermen have voiced their concerns. This part of the coast is considered a goldmine to the fishing industry, with an annual $4 million turnover in prawns alone.
Fishermen have some concerns over the effects of the exploration techniques on prawns, and we also have some concerns about the effects of the exploration techniques on fish larvae and phytoplankton and things like that, the basis of the food chain.
Negotiations with the fishermen and the authorities are continuing. Andrew Lobb reporting for NBN News.
After a 2.5-year fight to stop the Summerhill waste facility development, the residents have enlisted the aid of the Environmental Defenders Office, a department jointly funded by the state and federal governments to provide legal help in environmental disputes.
Environmental Defenders Office sees us as having a favourable case, so they will be acting on our behalf.
The department's first step will be to ask Newcastle Council to carry out a full environmental impact study. It will also challenge the council's definition of the facility under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, a challenge that could end up in the Land and Environment Court. Newcastle Lord Mayor John McNaughton says an EIS would not impede the development of the facility and that Council's own local study is enough to assure him the project is environmentally sound. The residents have also proposed that Council consider Butteye Quarry as a site for a regional facility to service Newcastle, Lake Macquarie and other Hunter councils. But the Lord Mayor today ruled out that possibility.
All the local councils would need transfer stations. We're going to double the cost of garbage removal ourselves on the present one. It would quadruple it for us and do even more than that for the others. And when there are other alternatives available, it's not a proposition.
Last Sunday may have marked the end of the Knights' 1991 semi-final hopes, but according to John Schuster, it should also have seen the start of his international rugby league career. The Kiwi claims he got an assurance from club officials that he would be cleared to play for New Zealand if the Knights lost. They did, but the New Zealand Rugby League still hasn't received the necessary paperwork.
I took it that I was released after Sunday's game, so it's disappointing when they change their minds like that, and especially when they're not told about it.
Knights officials say they want Schuster to represent his country, but aren't willing to lose their attacking dynamo for any premiership games. The club is willing to reopen negotiations with the NZRL if and when Schuster is actually selected in the Test side. But New Zealand officials are in no mood for compromise. Facing the strongest team in the world, they won't even consider selecting any player not available for the full 5-day preparation. With each side waiting for the other to blink, John Schuster might be left staring from the sidelines.
I'm not denying that I'm really disappointed and pissed off about the whole thing, but what can you do? I mean, I don't want to do anything to get offside with either of the parties.
In better spirits is Tony Kemp, who'll line up for the Kiwis against Wally Lewis.
He's most probably one of the best footballers that's chucked on a jumper, and it's one of my goals on next Wednesday to go out and have a better game than he is. But those minor offsets I've had earlier in the month, I suppose I've got to put them behind me at the moment and just get on with the job next week.
Bruce Mackenzie, NBN News.
Lake Macquarie citizens, is there a question you've always wanted to put to your alderman but were too afraid to ask? Well, now here's your chance. From the 15th of next month, Lake Macquarie City Council is opening its meetings for 15 minutes to questions from the public gallery. And Mayor Ivan Welsh reckons the opportunity for a bit of grandstanding in the hallowed halls of local government will attract all sorts. Alderman Nicholson proposed the idea of opening the council meetings doors to all queries in response to citizens crying out for more of a say. But Alderman Welsh reckons there's never been a problem with openness at his council.
I can't understand any question they might ask down there from the floor of the gallery that they can't get the information up in council at any time.
But the people of Lake Macquarie seem to be able to think of plenty of questions they'd like to put to their alderman.
Really bad roads. I would like to know why.
Mainly the roads. Around our area, they're terrible.
What they're going to do about the redhead garbage dump.
To know why we cannot cut down a tree that is giving us a lot of problem in our yard.
There's lots of people around here that just write into the local newspapers because they haven't got enough to sort of, they can't get their word across. But now, yeah, you can go straight to the big guy. You can really get something out of it.
Maintenance personnel at the Hamilton Bus Depot held a stop-work meeting this morning to discuss the State Transit Authority's latest plan to shed 80 engineering staff jobs from its Sydney and Newcastle depots. More than 40 jobs, or half the maintenance staff at Newcastle, could go, with the Belmont depot marked for closure. The cuts, if implemented, will affect regular maintenance schedules as well as breakdown retrievals. Weekday midnight to dawn passenger timetables will be scrapped. The meeting was attended by Labor parliamentarians who noted the union's grievances. The STA has also announced a plan to reduce the number of drivers in Newcastle by 70, but this could be met with stiff opposition from the drivers' union. The unions plan to meet with the authority in Sydney on Monday.
At present, the STA's stand is very firm, and although I can't anticipate any future industrial action, I know how the blokes feel about the issues.
Industrial action interrupted ABC radio and television broadcast today. The strike was over the proposed large-scale sackings of television employees. On a separate issue announced by Managing Director David Hill, budgetary constraints could lead to major reductions of staff and local programming in Newcastle. The ABC's manager in Newcastle, Murray Finlay, said today it was too soon to tell what cutbacks will be made in the city. The vessels were a bold new blueprint design, unlike anything else in service at the time. The brainchild of naval designers and experts in Canberra, the twin-hulled boats were thought to combine the attributes of seaworthiness, stability and stealth needed to track and disarm mines in Australian inshore waters. Built at Carrington Slipways, the first was launched in 1986, its new owners anticipating revolutionary performance and great export value to Southeast Asian buyers, neither of which was ever realised.
We've got a world first here. It is a world beater. We're in the forefront of mine technology now.
After exhaustive tests, the Navy has given the Cats the thumbs down, claiming the design is too narrow and unstable at sea and that the specified sonar tracking system has failed to deliver the required performance. The Navy is now considering 6 larger mine hunters built to a more proven seaworthy design for about $500 million all up. The catamaran mine hunters will be used as Navy training vessels in Sydney.
In the second minute of the match, Hunter Valley 5/8 Kane James threw 2 of the best dummies you are likely to see anywhere and found himself in some daylight with the try line 80 metres away and the local lads were in under the posts. Better to come as 5 minutes later the CHS boys made a blue about 10 metres out from their own line and winger Darren Williams swooped on the loose ball and set sail for the other end. With chasers coming from every angle, Williams moved into overdrive and the Hunter Valley led 10-0. But after sustained pressure, combined high schools hit back and it was clever play by their 5/8 Brett Stanford that made the scoreline 10-6. 2.5 minutes from the break and Hunter set the ball in motion along the back line from Sam Cook to Russell Blake and on to Williams and he was in for his second try. With a mounting injury toll and applied pressure from CHS, it wasn't long in the second half that they crossed and it was Stanford who again bamboozled the defence to score under the posts. 7 minutes before the final siren, the CHS side levelled the scores. Shane Dunley switched play to the left, where Adam Ritson got a good ball onto Albert Torres, and it was 14-all at the final siren. And as the rules of the competition state, if each side has scored the same amount of tries, the winner will be the team that scored first, and it wasn't half obvious that the Hunter Valley were ecstatic about the prospects of meeting Queensland in tomorrow's final. And that will be some task. The Northerners were awesome today as they demolished New South Wales Combined Catholic Colleges 40 points to 14. And the Maroons will start short prize favourites to win their first Australian under-15 rugby league title tomorrow. Queensland went into the final against the Hunter Valley development team as raging short-priced favourites, and they played like it right from the outset. Despite the early nerves from both sides, the Maroons settled quicker, and the match was only 9 minutes old when the huge Queensland pack won a tight head. Andrew Dunneman got the ball out to David Borman, and he strolled in to open the floodgates. It was to be a Borman benefit, as he went to the right and lobbed a basketball pass out wide, and Queensland had raced to a 16-0 lead. And then Borman scored a tremendous solo try, leaving the Hunter Valley defence in tatters, and Queensland had set up an unbeatable 22-0 lead at the break. Joseph Boslam thought that he better get involved, and his little chip kick set up nicely, and it was shut the gate. The Maroons were to score 6 more tries, with Borman scoring one of the best ones. After Queensland had kept the ball alive, the big centre found himself in some space, and when he saw daylight there was no way of stopping him, and he added the finishing touches to the scoreline, which read, Queensland 64, Hunter Valley 0, but Gallant in defeat. At the Western Suburbs Leagues Club after the match, the Australian under-15 merit team was announced, dominated by brilliant Queensland players, with Shane Saunders of the Hunter Valley team winning the coveted number 9 Guernsey. It's the first time Queensland have won the title, and the first occasion each state has representation in the national team.
BHP's profit is the largest of any Australian company. Analysts say higher oil prices and a solid performance by the iron ore division combined to give BHP a net profit of $1.423 billion. Higher average crude oil results and a higher raw material price favourably influenced profits despite the negative effect of a higher valued Australian dollar. The results included abnormal profits from the sale of a 30% stake in Woodside Petroleum and changes to government tax policies affecting the petroleum division. Every silver lining has a cloud, and the domestic recession cut deeply into BHP's steel division performance. Newcastle Rod and Bar Division General Manager Paul Jeans conceded that the local performance was unsatisfactory.
Well, Rod and Bar's performance during the last year was significantly inferior to the national result for BHP Steel.
Now, what are the factors that have caused this?
A considerable softening in Rod and Bar's domestic market, and the fact that in our product range we compete both domestically and in our international markets with people who essentially have differently configured plants, mini-mill plants.
Mr Jeans gave an assurance that the poor result wouldn't adversely affect ongoing employment arrangements.
The staff levels we announced late in April, which were basically that we would have to get to an organisational size of about 4,000, would still stand. We're proceeding towards achieving those levels in an orderly fashion. I'd still see that situation continuing.
A sense of gloom had also spread to other sectors of the steel industry, with BHP's associate, Tubemakers Australia, expecting a 60% slump in profits due to the weak Australian economy. The Financial Review newspaper said Tubemakers' major markets for steel products were all in the doldrums, with no sign of recovery. Meanwhile, BHP's rumour mill is operating at full tilt. High on the list is a prediction that BHP's transport section, now based in Newcastle and controlling the company's 15-strong fleet, is to be relocated to the administrative headquarters in Melbourne. Employees in the fleet operations section will hear the results of a company review next month.
Meet Bill, the portrait of an archetypal Aussie that won last year's Moran Prize. The competition began in 1988, flying in the face of the established art world and the prestigious Archibald Prize. It challenges Australian artists to keep realistic portraiture alive.
So I feel that if there were 100 even major prizes for portraiture in Australia, they wouldn't be in opposition to each other. I feel that they would just further promote the art of portrait painting.
Founded by Doug and Greta Moran, the competition is judged by Australian and international art experts and now attracts the highest quality works of seasoned Australian artists. Doug Moran, a successful businessman and the son of a former Hunter Valley miner, enjoys bringing the show to Newcastle. Each subject represents a different walk of life in contemporary Australia. All are painted with strict attention to realism.
For a portrait there must be a likeness to the sitter, or else why bother about it?
The exhibition is on for a month.
With a price tag of around $761, these wheelchairs are state-of-the-art. Specially designed for kids, they have a number of features designed to prevent any freewheeling mishaps.
They're a smaller size than the adult size, and they're designed so that if the child stands on the balancing foot plate, that the wheels spread out so that they don't tip over, so it has a built-in balancing mechanism.
Nursing staff have greeted the new arrivals with enthusiasm. They'll give nurses more time and patients more independence.
They'll be used for the transport of younger children, and particularly those who are disabled and have injuries and who can't walk around. We're hoping that our children will be able to move around the hospital more readily than they've been able to in the past.
And there'll also be less noise around the wards. These headsets, courtesy of AAMI, plug into TVs and radios and have already been snapped up by patients.